Hello Healthinistas, and welcome to my channel 50 something. This channel is for the overall well-being of people 50 and older. But don't worry, if you're in your teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s, you can still apply a lot of the content. Today I want to continue with the series My Life as a Kidney Donor. This is going to be episode 3, the surgery, but it's going to be part 1 because I didn't want it to be too long. So this will be part 1, so be looking for part 2. Alright, so the day of the surgery for me and my niece was December 20th, 2016. And we had to report because it was a late morning surgery. So we had to report. Now the donor and the recipient report together. And one more thing, let me backtrack to something I didn't mention in episode 2, is that you also meet with the surgeon that is going to be performing the procedure, and you get to sign basically a document that says that you understand everything that is going to be happening and that you agree to it. Anyway, so the day of the surgery, the recipient and the donor both report at the same time because, you know, it's going to be really weird if they're not going to start the operation to try to take out your kidney and then there's nobody to put it in. So they want to make sure everybody is on time and it's coordinated. So I go first. So the first clip you're going to see is me walking with the nurse that came to get me to go into pre-op. And then, yeah, my outfit that day, didn't care what I was wearing. I threw stuff together. I was really in a positive mood because I didn't want my family to worry. And because I wasn't worried, I knew I have faith and I know that it was in God's hands, but I didn't want them to worry either. So I was in a really good mood. I took my laptop to work on in the waiting room before I was called. But anyway, so I'm called and walk down the hallway, you know, go change into that beautiful gown they give you. And then my family comes in to the pre-op room with me. And so the next clip you're going to see is my children made me a little rap because they have a great sense of humor. And so that's me just being positive. I'm going to go into this surgery in a positive mode, right? And so this is how I presented right before going into it.
Hey, she prepped for her surgery. Yes. Hey, Millie Roxy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, God got this. Hey.
So then after I did my little dance, now it's time for them to basically administer the anesthesia. And they give you pain medication, of course, and then they give you what is called a cocktail, definitely to put you under. And so the next clip that you're going to see is me reacting to that cocktail. You feel this warmth and rush. Anybody that has had surgery, you probably know what I'm talking about, you know. And so then I remember saying goodbye to my family, and they backed me out of the room. And before they even made it down the hall, I can't remember because I was out. And so
I have my cocktail. Feeling it already? I told you.
What's happening?
I warned you, right? Hands going inside. And I'm going to put your head down.
Alright.
Yes, cold. Head coming down. Tell me when you're comfortable.
Alright, that's fine.
Okay. Alright, hugs, kisses, and home. Oh, okay.
Juju on head.
love you, family.
Love you, madre.
Love you, Tiffany.
I'm last.
Hey.
We'll take good care of her.
Alright.
Excellent care.
So what happens is that the donor and the recipient are in adjoining ORs. So they'll start on the donor. That's why they called me ahead of my niece. And then once they get my kidney out, Then it's taken to the OR beside the recipients because, beside the donor's OR, because the recipient is also been prepared by that time, and they have been cut open, and that kidney is going to be placed in that recipient. So according to my family, I was in surgery for about a little bit over 3 hours. And of course my niece was in there longer because mine, they were just taking out the organ, whereas with hers they were attaching, and that's more intricate. So anyway, so after they had taken out, and I was then in post-op, and I really don't remember anything. The first thing I remember is waking up or still being groggy, and that was that night. Because remember, we went into surgery about maybe a little bit after maybe 11:45 that morning, but I don't really remember until I got up. It was nighttime by the time I really got up, because I was in and out, in and out, in and out, and I was already in the room. I don't remember post-op. My husband says I was groggy in and out. So, and then once, I was in there, and they want you immediately. First of all, let me back up. They're gonna put a catheter in, because of course you got to use, you got to urinate, and that catheter, everything's going to drain into the bag. But for me, they wanted to take out that catheter pretty quickly, so they ended up taking it out the next morning. Now, that night, while you're in pain and everything, they don't want you to have blood clots, because that can complicate issues. So they're going to get you up pretty quickly. And that night, they wanted me to get up and walk, and I was in so much pain. So I was only able to make it outside the door, and I told them I couldn't make it down the hallway. So that was the extent of it. But the next morning, guess what? They were back, and I had to get up and I had to walk down the hallway. So anyway, I ended up being in the hospital for 3 days, and so did the recipient, believe it or not. My niece also ended up being there for 3 days. I got discharged maybe 3 or 4 hours before she did on the same day. So on the second day, my sister came by the very next day. So my sister came by so she could help me walk around, and I'm going to show you pictures of my sister trying to help me. But my children have, like I said, they have a sense of humor. Remember, they made a rap for me about the kidney loss in the first place. And so I didn't realize this until I was watching or looking at the pictures later on, and found out that they had photobombed every single one as we were walking. So it's funny. It's very funny to me, and it's great to have a great support system as I did, and to have the sense of humor that surrounded me. It's excellent. There was one incident that did happen while I was in the hospital, and the side of my face started to swell up, and it was hurting. It was excruciating, and they thought maybe I was having a reaction to the anesthesia. I needed pain medication, and I was taking pain medication, but I'm horrible with pills. Like, the nurse stood there, and I was trying to it took me forever to take the pills, and I took them all, but then by the time it was the next time, I was nauseous, and I couldn't hold any pills down. I begged them to give me all liquid, because, anyway, that's the way I am. So, long story short, they finally ended up giving me liquid. But anyway, my face was swelling up. They called the charge nurse. Charge nurse called the attending physician. Attending physician also came and looked at it and said, got to call the anesthesiologist. And you know what? The anesthesiologist never did come, unfortunately. But the swelling started to go down. It was very excruciating from the side of my face. You could see my face was like blown up. But with the pain medications, finally, I think it was fluid retention, and with the pain medication, finally it went down. So that was, I would say, the most uncomfortable thing after surgery. The other thing is that it was done laparoscopically. So I have 3 incisions. I had an incision up on my torso, then I had an incision right in my navel, and then I had an incision in my pelvic area. And then those are the smaller incisions that the tools and the endoscope are put through so that they could do the surgery. But to pull out the kidney, I have a 2-inch incision at my bikini line, and that's where the kidney was pulled out of. And so with that, when it's done laparoscopically like that, you're not taking longer to recuperate because they're not cutting through muscles. They may part the muscle, but they don't cut through the muscle. And there's not much muscle in the area that they're cutting. And so it's easier for them to part to get to where the kidney is, and then to snip. There are 3 things they're snipping. They're snipping your vein, your artery, and your urethra. And those are the 3 things that they're going to cauterize the ends of the vein, artery, and urethra. And so then there's nothing there on that side. So your one kidney then has to work harder. And the best news I got in my room was that my kidney that was in my niece was producing urine right away, and it was doing its job. So I was really ecstatic to hear that. So yes, that's basically the operation part, the surgery part. And here is how the incisions looked about a week, I would say a week and a half later. This is how the incisions looked. And so let me just warn you, they might look a little gross to you, so I'm warning you now, but this is how they looked, so that you can get an idea of what it looks like. So this is, it was in the healing process, but you can still see the glue, the surgical glue that is on top of the incisions. So eventually all of that falls off, and it heals nicely.